Mr. Robert Battle, Miss Nasha Thomas. Welcome to Up Front. How are you all?
Good morning. I'm good. How you doing, Robert?
I'm very good.
Yeah,
Very
you
good.
guys look amazing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Considering what we went through yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Lovely tornado
goodness.
Atlanta weather.
Yeah. But really excited that you all are here and back in our fair city. You know, Atlanta is home, the second home, I think, to the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. We feel that way when you guys are here
Yes.
in February. It always helps us know that we're celebrating Black History Month because you guys are always at the fabulous Fox Theater and you bring it every time. And so really excited that you guys are on the North American tour, which is not only coming to Atlanta, but you're hitting up Philadelphia. I believe Pittsburgh is on your schedule, Charlotte, San Diego. You guys are going all over the country, right?
Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get into the amazing programming for this year, I want to start with you, Robert, and you, Nasha. And, you know, we just celebrated Mr. Ailey's 92nd birthday on January the 5th. Can you share a personal story of you know, being with Mr. Ailey, or if there's something about Mr. Ailey that maybe we don't know? Because I learned a lot watching his amazing documentary, Ailey, which I believe came out last year. Beautiful film about him starting the company and his life. But can you share us a story about him? We'll start with you, Nasha.
Sure. Well, I auditioned for the company, the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, back in 1986. It was January. And the word was that Mr. Ailey was looking for a male. I'm not a male, of course. But the audition was very, very hard and difficult. I was working with Michael Peters, thought I was going to go out to California.
Wait. You worked with Michael Peters?
Yes. I'm from Bernice Johnson.
Oh, my
Michael
gosh.
Peters was from
And we're going to
Bernice
get to
Johnson.
that. Okay, we'll come back to that.
But I was dancing with Michael Peters,
Okay.
and I auditioned for the company. It was the first time I was in New York at the time. And I said, well, I just want to audition. I don't think I didn't think I was going to get the job. I wasn't going to take it. It was very, very hard. At the end of the audition, the associate artistic director came up. There were 6 of us left, 3 men and 3 women. She said, Mr. Ailey has made his decision, and he chose you. She turned and looked at me, and I was just stunned. I went and sat under the bars, the ballet bars, and I sat there, and she said, Mr. Ailey would like to meet you. And I went up to him and said, hi, I'm Nasha Thomas. I actually studied at your school. I was on scholarship when I was in high school. And he said, so you want to be a dancer? And that's kind of how it started. You know, I had studied at the school when I was at the High School of Performing Arts, and I was hired by Alvin Ailey back in 1986, January, and I wasn't a male. It was one of the most transformative, I think, events in my life. And Masazumi Chaya told me years ago that I was going to still be here after he retired, and he retired in 2019. I miss him dearly, and he was right. I'm still here 37 years later.
Absolutely. Handling Ailey Camp.
Yes.
National Director for
National
Ailey
Director
Camp.
of Ailey Camp, 10 camps around the country. There have been about 14 or 16 since it started in 1989 in Kansas City, so fabulous program.
Absolutely. And Robert, what about you? A story about Mr. Ailey.
Well, I never had the opportunity to meet Alvin Ailey.
Okay.
And I did not dance for the company. But, of course, in the seat that I'm in, I feel very connected to Alvin Ailey, to his spirit. And what I loved about the documentary, because, you know, I have the opportunity, of course, I worked alongside Masazumi Chaya, who knew him so well. Of course, Sylvia Waters, who ran our junior company, Ailey 2, for many years. And we would have lunches and dinners where they would tell me these wonderful stories about Alvin Ailey. And certainly Judith Jamison, who chose me to succeed her. And some of the stories were just funny, you know? And that's something that she says that sometimes people miss because he was so profound, but that he had a wonderful sense of humor. One of the stories that they tell me is, I don't know who was dancing, Cry or whatever, and they thought that they had done a wonderful job. And he came backstage after, you know the story. He came backstage, he was like, that was really interesting. I made a dance just like that. So,
wow.
Yeah, so he had that way about him. And I think the humor, and I think that anybody who is a survivor and is a storyteller has within them something of a sense of humor, that they take the work seriously, not themselves.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Cry was actually a piece that he created and dedicated to his mother, who was very influential in his life and his career.
Yes.
So yeah, very personal. So I'm sure when he saw that, it was like, okay, what are you doing?
It was
Mother would not approve.
one of the hardest ballets to perform in
Yeah.
the company, especially after Judith Jamison.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, because we see the man and we see that imagery, but I'm sure there was a sense of humor. I'm sure there was so many things about him that we, the audience really, don't know. But thank you for sharing that. You're listening to the voices of Robert Battle, Artistic Director of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, as well as Ms. Nasha Thomas, who is the National Director of Ailey Camp. Robert, I want to come to you and talk about this amazing new season. I got a chance to preview some of the work, and I was like, okay, I want to see it now. I can't wait until, I want to see it now. One of the pieces that really caught my eye, oh my gosh, I'm looking at my notes here, for 4. Mm-hmm. And this was something that you actually choreographed that was in response to COVID.
Well, yeah. I mean, we were still sort of not quite back yet.
Okay.
And we had just gotten back in the studio, but still tentatively, right? Because otherwise we were just doing it, through Zoom and whatnot. And so I decided to make a dance because we were doing a virtual benefit for the Kennedy Center, and we needed an opener. And I said, well, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And everybody on the call went, really? I was like, yeah, sure. I'll do something light and,
Yeah.
And I used the music of Wynton Marsalis.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is set to some amazing jazz music.
Yeah. But it's interesting. So I chose one dancer because I was going to do a solo.
Okay.
So this is also funny.
Yeah.
This is how art is made,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
start with one intention. And then Matthew Rushing, who is now our associate artistic director.
And Matthew's been here. Amazing artist. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, could you add another dancer? Because we were just trying to figure everything out, right? And people had to be in cohorts and all of that kind of thing. I said, sure, I'll make a duet. Then the next day he said, actually, could you add 2 more dancers? I said, that's it.
Right.
I'm making a quartet. So there's humor behind the reason I called it 4-4, F-R, F-O-U-R.
Yeah.
But in the process of making the dance, you have to realize, of course, we were dealing with COVID, with death all around us, with not being able to connect with our audiences live and in person, and, of course, with the racial reckoning that was going on. And at some point, I'm making this dance, I'm thinking of it as a light opener, and then my brain said, oh, I need to introduce the American flag in here. And I needed it to be almost shroud over a particular dancer because, I have a place in Connecticut, and, I was seeing the pickup trucks and the flag and all the stuff, you know what I mean, all the political stuff. But my statement was that jazz is American, right?
Absolutely.
That we are the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. And so within 4-4, I was trying to reclaim that, right? That I too sing America, as Langston Hughes would say. Yeah. So it's a quick dance, don't blink, but there's a lot embedded in that dance.
Yeah. Let's talk about your collaboration with Kyle Abraham, who has been here to the Atlanta area. Amazing artist. His gift to Ailey this year is "Are You in Your Feelings?" Mm-hmm. And this is set to a mixtape of soul, hip hop, and R&B. Let's talk about that because Kyle brings it every time.
Yes, and he had brought it this time. In fact, when he was making the dance, I tend to be a jazz person. I listen to Sarah Vaughan, I listen to Ella, different people. And he was telling me all these songs and names, and I was like, I don't know what you think of, but I'm really interested.
Yeah.
And because the music is intergenerational. You have Shirley Brown, Woman to Woman,
Classic.
Yeah. Right? You have the Flamingos, right? What is that song? I Only Have Eyes for You. And then you have Summer Walker,
Okay.
You know, and this wonderful solo that's a part of it. Can't think of the name of the song. Kendrick Lamar, Drake.
Yeah.
I mean, so when he was making it, everybody kept saying, "Oh my goodness, I can't wait to bring this to Atlanta."
Yeah.
Because people are going to be on fire.
Absolutely.
Right?
Shirley Brown and Kendrick Lamar in the same set. Come
Exactly.
on. Yeah.
Exactly. So he wanted to just celebrate Black culture, really. That's what it was about. And to also bring people together around their own sort of generational music. But you find that people know that woman-to-woman song that are not of a certain age. You know, it's classic stuff.
It's part of a popular meme that's going around that shows these women getting
Right.
it, woman to woman. Getting into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, it's what's woven in is a love story, right, of two people who are together and then apart and then ultimately together again at the end. So it's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Loved it. Saw again a snippet and was like, man, I need to see this like now. I need to see the rest of this, you know. So.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful ballet. My daughter sat with me, sang every song. I was like, babe, this is not a music concert. It's a dance concert. Shh, be quiet.
Yeah. Wow. You're listening to the voices of Robert Battle, Artistic Director for the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, and Ms. Nasha Thomas, who is the Executive Director of Ailey Camp.
National Director.
National Director.
You can give me another title, though.
Right.
I'll take it.
Okay. National Director. Let me make sure I get that in there. But you're listening to their amazing voices talking about this year's Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater American National Tour. We'll have more with them after this break.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
So we're back talking to Mr. Robert Battle and Miss Nasha Thomas here with Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Robert, I want to come back to you and talk about another piece that captured my attention as well, Survivor. And I loved it because I've been to South Africa twice. And so immediately when I saw that this was dedicated to, or it's inspired by Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela, my eyes were glued to it. And visually, it looks stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was choreographed by Mr. Ailey, right?
Yes, in 1986. It's an incredible work that I've been wanting to bring back for a while, but due to the pandemic and, you know, sort of got delayed. But, you know, sometimes things happen for a reason, right? You know, and this was the perfect time, I think, to witness this work. The reason I wanted to show it, I mean, of course, it's about the life of Mandela and Winnie Mandela, sort of at the moment where he's put in jail. And at that time, we believed to be for life. So it's intense. And I think, as I spoke earlier about, you know, his sense of humor, to me, this work shows the many facets of Alvin Ailey. It's raw. From my perspective. I mean, it is like a primordial scream in a way because of the rage that he felt about what was going on, the injustice.
Yeah.
And in a way, I thought, this is a side I don't see because, you know, Alvin knows how to, you know, smooth out the rough edges. I mean, he's a genius.
Yeah.
But this, I thought he just let it all hang out. It is so poignant. And then the score, of course, it's Max Roach and Abby Lincoln. And in it, I mean, there are no words that she's saying.
Yeah.
There's
It's very
moments-
haunting.
Yeah, where she just screams out. And then this profound duet between Winnie and Nelson that happens like between the bars of the cell. And I thought that that represented so much of, you know, the way that Black love is interrupted by societal stress of racism. And so it's just really something that I thought we needed to see because oftentimes I think people forget how bold he was because we don't put things in context in the time that they were created. You know, because he did that, people now can stick their necks out even more with their own artistic expression. But at that time, you have to think about when he did this, you know, he had to think about funders. You have to think about all of those things that sometimes people don't want to associate,
Right.
when you're sort of speaking a hard truth. But he did. And I think that that's the reason I wanted it to be seen, to let the audience know that this is also about you. And also, yes, he made the work about Winnie and Nelson Mandela, about apartheid, but I think he was really talking about what's happening
Right here in the U.S.
Yes, yes.
And as you were talking, I was visualizing that scene from the movie, the Ailey film, where he had reached several points throughout his career where it was like, what's next? What do I do next? How do I move this thing forward? Because there was this expectation from the world at that point of, you've got this amazing dance company, you've got these amazing performances. How do you top that? And so, like you're saying, to go there and talk about something that, he could have lost funding, he could have lost, financial support because of taking that stance against what was being, projected through the performance. That's what I thought about that.
Yeah.
That was very hard at that time.
Yes.
We're talking about the 80s. So
Yes.
yeah.
And Nasha, you want to?
We had a bomb threat, one of the performances I believe it was in Florida. I was in the cast. I had just gotten in the company, so it was one of the first ballets that I learned that was, a new ballet. And I think about it now when I heard the ballet was coming back, and I just had a great appreciation of being able to be in the presence of Max Roach. I was 23 or 24.
Wow.
And I knew he was a famous musician. And I listened to the score of Abby Lincoln. Just as you said, she wasn't singing. She was really screaming and crying. It's just anguish. And it's pretty darn special, that I was there involved in that process. And we filmed it for a special in a jail, and being able to have worked with Dudley Williams, who was just a
amazing
beautiful,
artist. Yeah.
amazing artist, and
Absolutely.
Sherelle Mesh, and to have been considered by Mr. Ailey to be a part of that, piece. As I said, I had just gotten in the company. It was pretty heavy. It was pretty heavy and very dramatic. Not a lot of choreography, I didn't have to worry about pointing my feet and turning and doing all of this stuff, but it was very, very dramatic and emotional. And that was something that he spent a lot of time pulling out of the artists, and it's like, what do you have to pull from for a piece like that, about a story like that in your mid-20s? I had just graduated from college, and I was, so happy and fancy-free, but it was some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Really heavy.
And visually, like you were saying, Robert, to see him dancing between the bars and she's there in front of, it was just, it's a must see. So you got to come see it.
Yes. Yes.
Got to come see
Absolutely.
it. So Robert, let's talk about Unfold. And this is a piece that you actually choreographed, and just looking at it and listening to it, it reminded me, or it made me feel like I was watching Porgy and Bess in dance.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that opera, of course.
Yeah.
And I love...
Because the music is gorgeous.
Well, Leontine Price.
Yeah.
A national treasure. She's incredible. And when I was a kid, I had a friend who, his father owned a sort of video rental record store type place. And so there were a couple of artsy tapes. And I remember there was a Sarah Vaughan live videotape. This was back in the videotape times.
Okay. VHS.
VHS. And there was a Leontine Price concert. And I managed to get my hands on both of those, but we won't talk about how.
Okay.
Whether I returned them or not.
I was going to say, is there a bench warrant out there for you taking something from the library?
Well, luckily, yeah. And actually, my friend who lives here, it was his father's shop, Camille, if you're listening.
Okay.
And I had never seen a black woman sing opera at that time. And I watched this thing over and over and over. I could not believe what was coming out of her.
Yeah.
I was mesmerized. So that was when I was really young. And so at one point I'm listening to this wonderful French aria about the first day of love or the first kiss or whatever. And I had had my former company, Battleworks at the time. I called up the dancers, two of the dancers, Kanji and another dancer, but Kanji still dances with us here at Ailey. And I said, we've got to get to the studio because I have an idea. And I made the dance in about 3 hours unfold. But it's a duet. It's a love duet, but it has to do with that first time one sees someone, right? And it's almost like you're on two different planes.
Yeah.
Sort of ethereal in a way. But people always love that particular duet. But yeah,
it's beautiful. I mean, visually, again, just
that's what I was
to
thinking.
see the
Visually
two.
stunning.
Yeah,
that back bend. Back in the day, that was my position.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Head on the ankle.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. When we return, we'll talk to Miss Nasha about Ailey Camp. So more with Robert and Nasha after these messages.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
It took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
All right, so we're talking to Ms. Nasha Thomas and Mr. Robert Battle of the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. Nasha, we're going to talk about Ailey Camp, but before we get into that, I'm going to brag about you because I was looking at your bio, and there were some names that popped up that just got me so excited. And let me say this: you were born for this role, for this job, and just even watching you with the young ladies at the National Center for Civil and Human Rights and seeing those little brown bodies move, with you was amazing. I actually watched as the people that were coming in watching you guys, and to see the amazement in their eyes as you were teaching these young women was just something to behold. But let's brag on you a little bit. You've been dancing since you were 6.
3.
Okay. You trained under the amazing Bernice Johnson. And
Yes.
if no one knows who this woman is, I mean, I learned about her through The Wiz, which is my favorite story, right? And then I did a little bit more research and found out that she trained people like Michael Peters and Lorraine Fields and
Vereen.
all of these amazing
Yes.
folks that are in entertainment. You also received the prestigious Presidential Scholar of Arts Award, which is the highest honor a high school student can
Yes.
receive from the president and the U.S., right?
Yes.
And then you were handpicked by Mr. Ailey. So
Doesn't get much better than that. And I'm still here.
that's right. So to be in this position, I mean, this is destiny, right?
I think so. As I've gotten older, I've realized that what is meant for you will find you, and I'm comfortable in the shoes I'm in. I've had a wealth of phenomenal mentors, as you said, Bernice Johnson, Michael Peters, Judith Jamison, Robert Battle.
Yeah.
And I stand on the shoulders of many, and it is definitely not something I prepared for, I trained for, but here I am. And it is an inherent part of who I am. And, my work, it's not work.
Yeah.
I love it, and I can do it in my sleep, which is a good thing.
And it flows through you, because one of the things that I found, and you have to experience this, parents that are listening or watching this, that Ailey Camp is more than just dropping your child off and they're going to dance for a couple of hours. This is a history lesson. This is a lesson in self-esteem. This is a lesson in learning who has gone before you and why you're here. And again, to see those young ladies that were there, as you were talking about, Mr. Ailey's history and calling out these names, I was like, do these kids know, who she's talking about? But this is really a history lesson. So let's talk about that, because I think that's so key to when we're dealing with young people. They're at that age where these names are folks that they can go look up. Mm-hmm. They're very impressionable, and they're at that age where it's like, I want to know who these people are.
Right. Well, first, Alvin Ailey was a visionary, and something that I've gotten from him is that he believed in connecting with people. And it's probably the most important thing in my job, is making that connection. And with young people, we know how important that is, because a lot of them have been there, seen that, done that, or know that.
Yeah.
It took a very, very giving and open man to realize that he wanted to do something outside of having a company and a school, but something that would be here and sustain and be for young people that weren't necessarily, interested in being professional dancers,
Right.
but a quality arts experience, a dance experience. And he hired educators to put together this program. And as you said, it's not about dance. Dance is the vehicle that we use. It really is about critical thinking, life skills, something that all of our young people need. And then why were the middle school age children chosen, from the elementary or high school? And they're the ones who are in need of, figuring out who they are,
Right.
what they like, how they feel about something. Yesterday, at the end of that workshop, I had a young lady come up to me and ask me if my pants were designed specially, out of everything that went on. She enjoyed the workshop, but they are looking at everything about you, my hair, the color. Somebody said they like my nails. I don't even have polish. I've had kids tell me I like your eyebrows. I don't even have eyebrows. I pluck them all. But it is about connecting with someone and finding something that is going to help you develop into the person who you want to be. And Ailey Camp is a program that asks that young person, what do you like?
Yeah.
What do you think? How do you feel? How many times has someone asked you, what do you like about yourself?
Yeah. And at that age.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I ask kids, what do you like about Tracy? What do you like about you? What do you like about Tracy? And they go, me? Yeah, you. What do you like about yourself? And that is something that opens the door. They see me as someone who is interested in them, and really what they think and how they feel about something. And that's how we get them to open up, So the most important thing in Ailey Camp is the Ailey Camper.
Absolutely. And Atlanta loves Ailey. Every time you guys come in February, there's no Black History Month if there's no Alvin Ailey here in Atlanta. So we so appreciate you all coming here. You will be here at the Fabulous Fox February the 16th through the 19th. This is all part of the national tour, which again is going to go to Charlotte and Chicago. You guys have already been to DC and places like that. I mean, West Coast, East Coast, you're going to be all over the country. Yes. And for more information about the Atlanta engagement, you can get that at WCLK.com. Robert Battle, Artistic Director for Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, and Miss Nasha Thomas, National.
I like the executive.
Right.
But yes,
National
I'm the National
Director of Ailey Camp. Thank you so much for being here, and God bless you as you guys continue to travel throughout the country.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tonight's program has been brought to you by UPFRONT, inside Atlanta's entertainment industry. Saturdays at 9 a.m. on Atlanta's Jazz Station, Jazz 91.9 WCLK.